Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Peter Liffers, and we are about to kick off tonight's Berkshire Museum Family Trivia. And for those of you in the Berkshires, the Berkshire Museum is now open by reservation Thursday through Monday. You can plan your visit by going to berkshiremuseum.org/visit. Alrighty, and with as always, now's a good time to grab pen, paper, and or maybe a pencil, and keep track of your score at home. And as always, please do not use the internet to cheat. I cannot see you, and I will not know if you are doing it. But let's keep within the spirit of the game, and let's not use the internet to look up answers. Alrighty, guys, let's kick it off. Tonight's theme for Berkshire Museum Family Trivia Night is polar explorers and robots. So we'll be covering the exploration of the Arctic and Antarctic, as well as some other robots who have gone on to explore other worlds. Alrighty. Now, my very, very first question for you all is, I'm going to see if I can get this to play right here. Now, what you can see here is the flow of seasons on both the North and South Pole. This video is from 2011 through 2012. Now, both regions were really started to be explored at the same time in the early 1900s, with explorers racing to be the first ones to claim that they were the first to reach either the North or South Pole. The major difference between the two poles: South Pole, obviously on land in Antarctica, whereas the North Pole is over open ocean. It is ice floating on top of the ocean. So the difference between the two is one has land under it, the other doesn't. Both are bleak, inhospitable, and incredibly dangerous places to visit. So my question for you all is, which was the first which pole did explorers reach first? Good Lord, getting myself tongue twisted there. Was it the North Pole or the South Pole? And I'll give you a few minutes to get your votes in. So which did explorers reach first? The North Pole or the South Pole? And there were numerous expeditions from numerous countries, both aiming for northern and southern exploration. The North also had additional explorers searching for the famed Northwest Passage, which was a route over the top of Canada as another way to get around the North American continent. To date, no one has found this mythic Northwest Passage. Alrighty, we're going to wrap up our voting there. We had the South Pole come up as the most popular answer here. However, I think you'll guys will find it was the North Pole. Now, there's a little bit of controversy around this. Robert Peary, his expedition is 1909, is credited as being the first to reach the North Pole. Man by the name of Amundsen reached the South Pole in 1911. Now, there has been repeated studies and evidence that's shown that Robert Peary likely didn't reach the North Pole exactly and was a little bit off. However, that record of reaching the North Pole in 1909 still stands, despite evidence to suggest that it may not have been exactly the North Pole. Whereas Amundsen in the South Pole absolutely reached the South Pole in 1911. Alrighty, so that one's a little bit of a trick question. So the record states that it is the North Pole in 1909. However, that record is a little bit in doubt. Now, speaking of Robert Peary's expedition, he had a team with him. And in that team, we actually have the furs from Mathew Henson. And on that trek to reach the North Pole, this is the picture they took of themselves when they believed they had arrived at their destination. Robert Peary was the one that they were leaning on for a lot of those directionals. He was the one that was skilled in the cartography needed to make their way across the ice, which is incredibly difficult when you're given a basically featureless landscape and have the technology of only 1909 to help you. Now, Mathew Henson and Robert Peary made how many attempts to reach the North Pole before their successful mission? They made numerous expeditions to attempt to reach the North Pole. How many of them failed? This is not how many did they go on altogether. This is how many of them failed before they actually made it to the North Pole. Was it 4 attempts, 5 attempts, 6 attempts, or 7 attempts? And again, this is not how many times did they make this expedition to the North Pole. This is how many times did they fail before they succeeded. All right, we're going to give you guys just another minute or two on answers there. Not a minute or two, another few seconds. Alrighty, we're going to wrap up our voting. You guys did pretty well. Clear winner with 6 attempts. You guys are correct. It took 6 attempts, failed attempts, and it was on their 7th that they made what they claimed to be the successful voyage to the North Pole. Again, this expedition does have a little bit of an asterisk next to it, as there's still some debate as to the precise nature of where they actually made it to. Now we are going to switch from the North Pole down to the South Pole. Now, despite Amundsen reaching the South Pole, he was a Norwegian explorer. The English explorer Shackleton, who is also racing to reach the South Pole first, decided that he would then try for a different record. He was going to travel to Antarctica, make a cross trek across the land to the South Pole, and then exit Antarctica from the other side, performing a transcontinental travel. So traversing the entire continent of Antarctica in a single voyage. Unfortunately for him, his ship became lodged in the ice and was eventually lost. His crewmen gathered together. They camped out on the ice for a bit. They pulled one of these smaller ships from the lost ship and used that to sail out to an island a bit north of Antarctica, which is pretty much everything. If you're on Antarctica, you've got north and the rest of Antarctica. And they stayed on Elephant Island for months before they were rescued. Now, they departed in 1914 and were rescued in 1917. Now, my question for you all is, what was the name of Shackleton's ship that became stuck in the ice? Was it the Endurance, the Nimrod, the Beagle, or the Arbella? What was the name of this vessel that Shackleton was on that became lodged in the ice, eventually lost, and would lead to these men being rescued in 1917 from Elephant Island? Was it the Endurance, the Nimrod, the Beagle, or the Arbella? We'll give you a couple more seconds on your guesses there. All right, we're going to wrap up our voting. Now, with a slight lead, we have the Nimrod as our top guess. It is actually the Endurance. It was the Endurance that became trapped in the ice. The Nimrod was actually the name of one of Shackleton's earlier voyages. That was the ship he was on in one of his earlier attempts to gain that world record for first to reach the South Pole. And another fun fact, the word Nimrod, back in 1909, taken from the Bible, was the name of a great hunter and explorer, and was a really great name to name a ship, especially a ship of exploration. However, a couple decades later, a cartoon came out involving one Bugs Bunny and one Elmer Fudd, and Bugs Bunny sarcastically calls Elmer Fudd Nimrod in a reference to this great hunter, because mocking Elmer Fudd that he wasn't doing a good job hunting Bugs Bunny. But most people didn't understand the reference. And eventually, Nimrod just became a synonym for kind of a moron. So it had this once proud name because of Bugs Bunny is now seen as an insult. That's my Nimrod fact. We're going to switch back to Mathew Henson. Seen here in his Arctic furs, we have a set of Mathew Henson's Arctic furs at the Berkshire Museum as well. They are made from a mix of different Arctic animals designed to keep you dry and warm in an incredibly cold, brutal climate. So it's a mix of fox, seal, polar bear, all and taken from native Inuit designs to the peoples who live in these incredibly frigid environments, and using clothes that are designed to help you stay warm in those environments. Now, my question for you guys is, before he was taken on, before he joined on with Peary's expeditions, Mathew Henson worked as a blank. So Mathew Henson worked as a blank before joining Robert Peary's expeditions. Was he a shipbuilder, a sales clerk, a trolley operator, or a lumberjack? So before he went off to become an explorer in the 1900s, what was he working as? Shipbuilder, sales clerk, trolley operator, or lumberjack? Just another few seconds on those answers. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap it up there. And we got a little mix of voting there, but we have sales clerk just squeaking it out on our guesses. And you guys are 100% correct. Mathew Peary is working as a sales clerk in a men's clothing store. Did you say Mathew Peary or Mathew Henson? I get my names all blended together. Mathew Henson was working as a sales clerk in a men's clothing store. Robert Peary came in and upon talking to Mathew Henson and discovering that he had actually also worked as a cabin boy on board merchant vessels and had some skill in cartography, then immediately hired him on the spot to be his personal valet and later just a member of his expeditions. Now, unlike the North Pole, the South Pole does have a continent underneath it. And while Antarctica belongs to no nation, many, many nations have research stations on the continent. Now, if you are to be sent to Antarctica to a research station, you are at most going to be there for maybe a little over a year before you are swapped out. So no one really lives on Antarctica, but you might be there for a year or so. But this depends on the seasons. Those who overwinter is much smaller than those who are there in the summer. So my question for you guys is, how many people live in Antarctica in the summer? Is the population of Antarctica in the summer 1,000, around 3,000, around 5,000, or around 7,000? How many people, almost all of them scientists, live in Antarctica during the summer? Now, there are two countries which have made attempts to establish made attempts to see if Antarctica could prove to be a livable situation. Those are the countries which are closest to Antarctica, which are Argentina and Chile. Tierra del Fuego, and then the peninsula comes up from Antarctica is about the closest where they meet. However, there is the Antarctic Treaty, which says that Antarctica, just like the moon, cannot be claimed by any one nation. So while numerous countries have made claims on Antarctica, no one is legally considered to be the country that owns Antarctica. All right, we're going to end our voting there. Once again, a little split on the voting. 5,000 has taken the lead. And all those who answered 5,000, you guys are 100% correct. It is around 5,000 people who live on Antarctica in the summer. That number drops to around 1,000, if not a little bit lower, for the winter. Those staying there during the winter, again, doing research projects and maintaining the facilities on the continent. Alrighty, that is the end of our polar exploration, and we are now moving on to the world of robots. The very first question I have for everyone is, where does the word robot come from? The robot is not a native English word. It entered the English language from another source, and my question for you guys is, what is that source? Where did the word robot come from? Is it a Czech word? Is it a word taken from Sanskrit? Is it a word taken from Greek? Or is it a word taken from Turkish? So the word robot is not a native English word. It was added to the English language from another source, as English is wont to do. So what language gave us the word robot? Alrighty. And I will say that this word did enter the English language in the 1920s, so it's a relatively recent addition to English. Alrighty, we're going to wrap up our voting there. Looks like Greek got the most votes out of everyone, but you'd be shocked to know that it is in fact Czech. The word robot came from a Czech language play. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation in Czech. Rosomovi Universalni Roboti, or Rossum's Universal Robots, written by Karel Čapek. The word robot itself is sort of a made-up word he used by pulling from Old Slavic words for like worker and labor and things like that, and sort of mishmashing that into a new word, robot. And then this became sort of the word that describes all mechanical programmed beings that we have created since then. So it is from the 1920s, and the language comes from Czech. There are descriptions of robot-like creations that you'll see in India. So things come words describing similar things in robots that are in Sanskrit or Hindi. The Greeks had several sort of string and pulley automatons, but the word robot comes from Czech. And now we are traveling once again to and exploring the red planet here. This is, of course, Mars. And we have launched many exploratory robots to the planet Mars. And my question for you guys, and we're going to jump right into this one, is which one of these Mars rovers has traveled the furthest? Is it Curiosity, which is our current most advanced rover on Mars? Is it one of the twins, Spirit and Opportunity, who arrived at Mars around the same time? Or is it the very, very first Mars rover, the Sojourner, named as the Sojourner Truth, and was named by a child in Connecticut after winning a contest? So which one has traveled the furthest? Curiosity, our newest and largest robot, Spirit or Opportunity, or Sojourner? All right. Another few seconds on your answers there, and then we will discover the truth, which is also Sojourner's last name. All right, we're going to wrap up our polling there. Pulling ahead by a mile is Opportunity, which is fitting because it is Opportunity. Opportunity is not only the most traveled Mars rover, it was also the Mars rover that was active for the longest. While Sojourner lasted for the full length of NASA's expected run of that particular rover, Spirit and Opportunity both far exceeded the mission's expected goals. Spirit would die in, not die, but the batteries would fail I believe, in 2011. They landed there in 2004. Opportunity would last from 2004 until 2018, when sand buildup eventually caused the solar panels to not provide enough power to the systems. And then here you can see the path Opportunity took. It traveled from the initial landing site by Eagle Crater all the way down to the Endeavour Crater, and this is a distance of several kilometers. We have a map of Washington, D.C. for scale. So essentially, Opportunity drove almost all the way around the city of D.C., making it the most traveled robot on Mars. Alrighty. Now, switching over to science fiction, here we have the 3 laws of robotics. First, a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. 2, a robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. These are the laws of robotics created by a science fiction author, and have played a part in the continuing debate on the ethics of robotics and how to judge artificial life. Now, my question for you guys is, which science fiction author created these 3 laws of robotics? Was it Isaac Asimov, who's probably best known for the Foundation trilogy? Ray Bradbury, probably best known for Fahrenheit 451, I believe. I should know what Ray Bradbury wrote. I've read a lot of his stuff. We have H.G. Wells, writer of The Time Machine, and Frank Herbert, writer of Dune. Which one of these authors created the 3 laws of robotics in one of their works? Just another few seconds on your guesses there. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap up our voting there. And just squeaking out the victory at the very end by 1 vote is Isaac Asimov. And that is 100% correct. Isaac Asimov, in his I, Robot series, set forth the 3 laws of robotics. And this caused a lot of discussion about how those laws would actually function in the real world and whether or not they were sufficient. Eventually, Asimov would add a 0th law, which I do not have in front of me, to expand it a little bit further. But they all play a part in this ongoing debate of robot ethics. And if you ever watch Star Trek TNG, there's a lot of debate about robots due to whether or not they are true sentient creatures or not, due to Lieutenant Commander Data. Alrighty, our next question. Here we have C3PO and the human being, that which provides both his movements and his voice. And my question for you guys is, in the world of Star Wars, how many languages can C3PO speak? Is he familiar with over 9,000 forms of communication? Is he familiar with over 200,000 forms of communication? Is he familiar with over 6 million forms of communication? Or is he familiar with over 12 million forms of communication? When C3PO introduces himself and begins to brag, as he is wont to do, how many languages does this droid speak? Is it over 9,000, over 200,000, over 6 million, or over 12 million? Another fun fact about C3PO, he's one of 2 characters to appear in every Star Wars movie, the other one being R2-D2. All right, another couple seconds on your guesses there. If you don't know, you can just pick at random. You got a 25% chance of being right. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap up our voting there. Mixed bag all over the board. No real winner on our voting end, but I think you'll find that C3PO is familiar with over 6 million forms of communication. So C3PO can speak 6 million different languages, because the Star Wars universe is not known for its sense of scale. But also that's a very handy thing to have in a protocol droid. Alrighty, we've come to our final question of the night. Here we have Maria from Fritz Lang's movie Metropolis. A very, very early robot one sees in movies. Now, humanoid robots have a special term used for them that separates them out from other robots. So what term is used to describe robots that look human? Is it cyborg, replicant, Cylon, or android? Humanoid robots have a very specific term that is used to describe them, and those terms, so which one of these is a term used to describe humanoid robots? Cyborg, replicant, Cylon, or android? You might also hear the word automaton used to describe humanoid robots, but that typically falls more to mechanical, less electronic robots, similar to the automaton created by Leonardo da Vinci, which was a suit of armor that had a series of levers and gears in it that as a weight fell, sort of like in a grandfather clock, it would cause the robot to turn and bend and extend his arm. All right, we're going to wrap up our voting there. We have Android, just like the phone program, coming out ahead. And that is 100% correct. The current term for any humanoid robot is an android. You might also hear the word gynoid. That is specifically for a humanoid robot that is designed to look female. Android is sort of the generic catch-all term, but is, if we're being particular, android does technically mean male form. Gynoid technically means female form. Cyborgs are, of course, human-robot mixes. Replicants are from Blade Runner, and Cylons are from Battlestar Galactica. Alrighty, thank you for playing, guys. This has been Berkshire Museum Family Trivia. We will be off for 3 weeks. We will be back first Tuesday in October for our beginning of our spooky month. We will be covering witches and nocturnal animals. So I will see you guys then. All right, have a great night.